everybody, my name is Bella and I'm 12 years old. Today I will read about the red-headed lagoon. A strange advancement. After my marriage, I lived with my wife in another part of London. My friend Leopold continued to live in his apartment in, Ba- in Baker Street. One day in the autumn of 1890, I decided to visit my friend. But when I arrived at his apartment, I found that he already had a visitor. This visitor was an old man. She was fat with a red face, but the most unusual thing about him was he was fat with a red face. But the most unusual thing about him was his hair. The color of the old man's hair was bright red. "I'm sorry, Holmes," I said. "I didn't know you were busy. I will wait in the next room." But Holmes didn't want me to leave. He pulled me into the room and closed the door. "This is my friend, Dieter Watson," he said to the old man. Dieter Watson has helped me with many cases. Perhaps he can also help me with yours. "I'm really interested in your case, Holmes," I said. "This is Mr. Jarvis' question," went on Holmes. The old man nodded to me. "Mr. Watson has come with me with a very unusual story. It's the most interesting problem I've heard for a long time. Mr. Watson, could you please tell your story again from the beginning?" I'd like Dieter Watson to hear it. Mr. Watson pulled an old newspaper out of his pocket. He opened the paper underneath and returned to the audience page. He ran his finger down the advertisement and pointed to one of them. "Here," he said, "this is how everything began. Read it for yourself, Dieter Watson." I took the big newspaper out from Mr. Watson. It was the Morning Chronicle and was 2 months ago. I read the advertisement. The Red-Headed Lagoon. Another vacancy is open for someone wishing to become a member of the lagoon. Salary £4 a week. All red-headed men over 21 years old should come on Monday at 11 a.m. to this address. They can watch the Red-Headed Lagoon, 7 Grove Court, Fleet Street, London. Here is that uh, advertisement so that you can read it too. Here, the Red-Headed Lagoon. What a strange advertisement, I said. Whatever can it mean? Holmes laughed. "It's very unusual, isn't it?" he said. "And now, Mr. Watson, tell you your story." "Well," began Mr. Watson, "I have a small shop in South Chicago Square in the city of London. But my business hasn't been good for some time, and I don't make much money anymore. I used to have 2 assistants, but now I can only pay 1. My assistant is very interested in learning the business, so he is willing to work for half pay." "That's very unusual," said Holmes. "What's the name of your assistant?" "Vincent Spaulding," replied Mr. Watson. "He's an excellent assistant, but he does do one unusual thing. Stanley very interested in photography and takes a lot of photographs. He develops photographs himself in the cellar of the shop. When he isn't working, he spends all of his time down there." "Go on," said Holmes. "We live very quietly," continued Mr. Watson. "I don't go out very much, and I don't read the newspaper. One day, 8 weeks ago, Spotty came to me with a newspaper in his hand. It was the same newspaper that I showed you, Mr. Watson." "Mr. Watson," said Spotty, "I wish I were a red-headed man." "Why?" I asked in surprise. "Well, here's another vacancy in the red-headed language," replied Spotty. "The red-headed language?" I asked. "What's that?" Spotty looked at me and laughed. "Haven't you ever heard the red-headed language?" he said. "You could become member and make a lot of money." "Well, I heard that," said Mr. Watson. "At once I became very anxious. I need more money, so I was Spotty to tell me more about his red-headed language." "I think," said Spotty, "the language was taught by an American called Ezekiel Hopkins." Ezekiel Hopkins was a very rich man and enjoyed doing unusual things. Hopkins was red-headed himself and liked all other red-headed men. So when he died, he left his money in his will to help the red-headed men. The money was used to start the red-headed language. When a man became a member, he would be paid an excellent salary for every little work. "And now," said Spaulding, showing me the advertisement again, "here's another vacancy in the library. Why don't you go to Parkhurst, Mr. Watson? I'm sure you can become a member." "Now you see, gentlemen," continued Mr. Watson, "the color of my hair is bright red, so I thought I could easily become a member of this red-headed library." Mrs. Spaulding seemed to know a lot about the lagoon, so I asked him to come with me at the entrance in the advertisement. We closed the shop for a day and sat at the postcard Fifth Street. An unusual shop. Holmes rubbed his hands together and smiled. Your story is really interesting, Mr. Watson, he said. "Please go on." "When we arrived in Fifth Street," said Mr. Watson, "we saw strange thing. The whole street was full of red-headed men. They had all come under the advertisement. When I saw how many men were waiting, I wanted to go home, but Spaulding wouldn't let me. He pushed and pulled me through the crowd. At last, we reached the stairs leading up to the office in Pope's Court. A small man was sitting behind the table. The color of the man's hair was rather than my own. "This is Mr. Jabez Watson," said my assistant. "He has come about the vacancy in the lagoon." The small man looked carefully at my hair. I looked at it for such a long time that I began to feel uncomfortable. Suddenly, he bent forward and grabbed my hair with both hands, pulled it until I cried out in pain. "I'm sorry I hurt you," said the man. "Your hair is a wonderful color, but I had to make sure you weren't wearing a wig. I had to find out if your hair was real." Then he went over the window. He opened it and saw that the man below that vacancy was taken. Then the red-headed groaned with disappointment. Then they began to walk away. In a few minutes the square was empty. "My name," said the small man, "is Duncan Ross. You can now a member of the red-headed language. When can you start the job?" "Well, that's going to be difficult. I have a business already." Oh, don't worry about it, Mr. Watson cried, smiling. I can look after the business for you. Now I knew, now I knew that my assistant was a good girl and could look after my business well. So I asked Duke and Ross, what are the hours of work? Every day between the hours of 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, replied Mr. Ross. The pay is £4 a week, but you must not leave the office at any between 10 and 2. If you leave for any reason, you will lose your pay. Cop, I understand, I say. And what is the work? Copy the encyclopedia patents. The first rule of it is over there. Will you be able to start work tomorrow? Cautiously, I say. Then goodbye, Mr. Watson. I hope you enjoy your work. I went home with Vincent spouting. I was very pleased. It was an easy job to copy out the Wikipedia spreadsheet and the pay was excellent. Next morning, I arrived at the office. Joe Kentworth was waiting for me. I started copying out the acronym letters beginning with subject under the letter A. Sometimes Mr. Ross left the room, but he kept coming back to see me. So, goodbye and thank you for listening. Language for part 2 to listen more. Goodbye.